Ramin Khodakaramrezaei traveled from Texas to Washington in order to murder Zohreh, Sadeghi, and Mohammad Milad Naseri. He had been stalking Zohreh. The police had been trying to serve him with a no-contact order. Hey everybody, welcome to the True Crime Squad. I'm Kristi Brower, here with my sister, co-host, and partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey Katie.
Hello.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going. We've had a fun weekend.
Yeah, we did. We
Went
got to go to drag brunch. That
It
was
was
so fun.
awesome. Yeah.
I haven't been to drag in person in years because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I really appreciated getting to go. That was a lot of fun.
It was awesome. Yeah, we
Mhm.
saw some great performers. We had a fabulous brunch.
Oh my
Saw
goodness. It was so
friends
fun.
that were out and about, which I like, we hardly leave our houses these days. So
Right?
it was just really, really nice. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was. It was. I agree. But here we are, back in true crime land.
Yeah. Back for Monday's episode of all of What's Up.
Yeah, what's up? And then Tuesday. So we thought last week we had court for Lori Vallow on Wednesday. It has been moved to Tuesday. So we will be doing that for our Tuesday episode. We'll go to court. We will live Facebook and live tweet it. And then we will come back and do a live stream and tell you about it, because this is a big, big hearing. He's going to rule. He's going to give oral rulings on some big stuff, like whether or not he's going to drop the death penalty from her case. So
Yeah.
pretty important stuff. So you'll want to keep an eye on that for
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Whether or not
on
he's going to
Tuesday.
throw out some evidence.
Yeah. It's kind of a big deal. We're
Mhm.
getting right down to it. She is just about right after that hearing. She will be transported to the Ada County Jail in
Yeah.
Boise, Idaho, because that's where she will be when she has trial.
Yeah. Good luck, Lori. She has been in
Ooh.
the Madison County Jail. That is, according to other inmates who, have been in jail around the valley, it is the kindest, softest, squishiest, warmest, nicest jail you can be in, especially on the women's side. Lori
Mhm.
has been being treated with kid gloves and babied, and it's going to be a whole different world when she gets to the Ada County Jail.
It will. It is a much bigger place. It is a much
Mhm.
bigger jail. It is not going to be the same. It's going to be a lot
No,
tougher.
they will likely have to keep her in solitary because it is their job
I
to
would
keep her
think.
safe
Yeah.
so that she can go to trial. And then we don't know if she'll ever return to the Madison County Jail or if she'll never come back. We're not sure with sentencing if there'll be a big, a bit of a break between the two, that she may actually end up back at Madison for a little bit, or if there won't. We're not sure, but
Just depends on
either
how all the
way.
scheduling ends up. So yeah, that
Mm.
is an interesting thought, that she might be moving
Mhm.
from that jail for good.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it could
Wow.
be. This is the end of her stint at Madison. Yeah.
Yeah, that's strange. All right. Well, Katie, I know you're going to kick us off with some crime news update.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Fort Hood.
Oh, not again.
Again.
Yeah.
Again. There has been another female soldier who has died at Fort Hood under some suspicious, maybe, circumstances.
Mhm.
This is very preliminary, but I wanted to make you guys aware of it because this is certainly not the first time.
No, this just keeps happening.
And in fact, besides female soldiers, dying at Fort Hood, there's also a much higher than average report of sexual assault at Fort Hood
Yeah.
against women. So I want to talk a little about it. Her name is Anna Basal. Gonna. This is a hard name for me. Anna Basaldua Ruiz.
Okay.
And she's from Long Beach. She's 21. And she's served for the last 15 months as a combat engineer with the 1st Cavalry Division at Fort Hood. Army officials are saying she died on March 13th, but they have not released any information about the cause or manner of death. Of course, they are leaning towards suicide and saying that no foul play is evident.
And we are seeing that way too often. Way too often.
Here's
In
the
cases
problem.
that just
Yeah,
no.
way too often. Here's the problem. Her family says, wait a damn minute. She's been telling us for months that she's being sexually harassed uh, by her uppers.
Mm-hmm.
And that, and here's what's crazy about this case. Her mom lives in Mexico. Her dad lives in California. You know who broke this case first?
Mm.
Telemundo.
It hit Mexican news before it hit U.S. news,
Yeah, because mom is in Mexico
right?
trying to get some awareness because she suspects that somebody hurt her daughter.
Sure.
And she was able to get them to run a story. And then some other U.S. News agencies kind of fell in line behind. But the first article about this was from, or the first good one, article that had any information was from Telemundo.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a few things that we know. Her mom told her, or she told her mom a few weeks ago that an Army superior was harassing her and that she was the target of repeated sexual advances on the base.
Mm.
She told her mom that everyone here wants to sleep with me and they won't leave me alone.
Jeez.
She also said that on March 8th, she told her mother that she was very sad, that she was going through very difficult things, that things were not as normal as she thought, and that she couldn't tell her mom much, but there was going to be a moment when they'd be together and she could tell her everything.
Man.
She also told her father recently that her whole life is wrong and that she wishes she could die,
Oh dear.
which is making it easy for the military to say, yeah, it's just a suicide, as they do.
Yeah,
But
unfortunately, way too often.
yeah, but the League of United Latin American Citizens, or they call themselves LULAC, they are getting involved, as well as the Pink Beret unit, the Pink Berets.
Mhm.
The Pink Berets are a group of women that are mostly made up of former soldiers who
Mhm.
help to represent women and assist women who've been sexually assaulted while in the military.
Good.
And LULAC has called on the FBI to investigate her death, saying they feel like it's important for investigators outside of the military to examine these circumstances.
Mhm.
They said they're deeply concerned by reports from her family that their daughter was the target of repeated sexual harassment. Of course, the FBI has declined to comment. The wagons seem to be circling.
Of course. That just keeps happening at this
Mhm.
at this base.
Uh, President Biden signed a bill not too long ago trying to address the way sexual assault in the military is reported and the way it's treated.
Mhm.
Because unfortunately, when women are reporting sexual assault, they are deeply penalized. And the repercussions are terrible and swift, and there's not correct action being taken. And unfortunately, I can honestly say that just about every woman I know who served was sexually assaulted at one time or another.
Yeah.
It,
I
it
know, I've heard it too. It's terrible.
yeah, yeah. So you may remember Vanessa Gillen's
Mhm.
murder on at Fort Hood, which of course was also at the hands of a superior
Yeah.
who murdered her with the help of his girlfriend, ironically. And then when the police were close to arresting him, he killed himself. And
Yeah.
actually, the girlfriend was sentenced not too long ago for her involvement in that case. But that's what triggered a deeper look into how Fort Hood was handling these deaths. And there was a report released in 2020 that found major flaws at Fort Hood and a command climate that the Secretary of the Army described as permissive of sexual harassment and sexual assault.
Permissive.
Yeah.
My
The
God. And
yeah.
that was 3 years ago?
At
Ugh,
that time, the Army ordered 14 officials, including several high ranking leaders, to be relieved of command or suspended. Yeah.
but it's still happening.
Now, this study really slays me because I just don't know. And maybe I'm wrong, but these numbers just don't resonate with me. This was a study that was released in 2021 by the Rand Aereo Center. They're a federally funded research group. They found that women at Fort Hood had a much higher risk of sexual assault than average women in the Army.
Mhm.
Well, duh, that we figured, but
Right.
they're saying that the total sexual assault risk to Army women in Fort Hood in 2018 was 8.4%,
Mhm.
compared to 5.8% risk for all women in the Army. Really? 5.8? 8.4?
There's no way that's
There's
accurate.
no way that's accurate. No, I will not accept that.
Mm-mm. No, those numbers have been gamed for sure.
However,
And I mean, how often are women just not reporting at all because when they do, they die?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Representative Joaquin Castro, he's a Democrat in Texas, is urging the Army to fully investigate Ruiz's death, including an evaluation of why Fort Hood is still failing to keep young soldiers safe. Yeah. He also tweeted reports of sexual harassment before Private Ruiz's death are disturbing. Congress passed into law provisions in the I Am Vanessa Guillen Act to address issues of sexual assault and harassment in the military. We need to know if these protections are being fully implemented.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, we sure do.
absolutely.
What the hell? And this isn't it's not time for just some another damn study. This is
Hmm.
time for actual action. Women
Absolutely.
are dying
Hmm.
at Fort Hood.
Yep. So that's what we know so far. It's not a lot. Uh, Also, whether Anna was murdered or she killed herself because of the sexual harassment and sexual assault going on at Fort Hood is somewhat inconsequential to me. I
Right.
mean, in a way, I guess what I'm saying is, regardless of how
Right.
Anna died, there has to be a better investigation and consequences. There has to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like there seems to be this air of, well, if she killed herself, well, then, sorry, have a nice day, rather than what happened to this girl, and that can't
And
stand.
why and
Yeah.
who was not doing their job?
Well, and
'Cause
there's a big
obviously.
if to me on whether or not she actually killed herself, but
Right, because it's a very easy that's a very easy, conclusion to
answer.
jump to. We see it all the time.
Hmm.
Ugh. Well, thank
Yep.
you for bringing that to our attention, and I'm sure we'll
Absolutely.
keep our attention on that.
Hmm. Definitely. Definitely. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to kick the mic over to you for our main case.
All right. So our main case is a murder-suicide that happened a couple of weeks ago in Renton, Washington.
Yeah.
This is an I've come up with my way to say his name. I'm pretty sure it's wrong, and I'm going to refer to him by his first name for the rest of the show. But it's Ramin Khodakaramrezaei is how it looks to me. Ramin was an over the road trucker. He lived in Texas, and he got to know um, a woman named Zara. And Zara and Ramin were both involved in a an app called Clubhouse. I don't know if you're familiar with Clubhouse, but Clubhouse
Mm-mm.
that you people can start their own clubs basically that are online, and then there can be interaction with people individually, or
Okay.
have group meetings, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So they were both in a group that was for people who speak Farsi because they both spoke Farsi, and so they were kind of they
Mhm.
initially got connected
Sure.
um, because of that. And
Yeah.
then also had a podcast, and the podcast was for people who are native Farsi speakers who want to get into tech jobs. And
Okay.
Zora was a computer programmer.
Okay.
So what happened is that things got scary quickly with Ramin.
Mhm.
Um, he started he kind of got it in his head that he and Zora were in a relationship, and Zora was married and not
Right.
in a relationship with him.
Mhm.
My impression is that in her mind they were friends,
Mhm.
and she's sounds to me like someone who really was trying to be supportive of people who speak Farsi and who may be struggling with getting tech jobs that they want and
Yeah.
stuff like that, right? But Ramin got really, really attached to Zora and started stalking her.
Mhm.
And at some point, she told him, I'm done with this. I don't want any more of this.
Yeah.
And according to Ramin's ex wife, he really did believe that they were in a relationship. Now, Zora's husband's name is Mohammad Naseri.
Mhm.
And when, so Ramin started threatening Zora and saying
Mm.
things like, he was going to come to her house
Oh
and he
boy.
was not going to leave until he was dead or someone else took his life. And
Good
that
Lord.
also said that he would show up at her house and set it on fire and left a lot of really scary voicemails and
Yeah.
actually leaving up to calling up to 100 times a day, leaving
Oh my
messages like
God.
this.
Oh.
So Zora and her husband went to the courts and they asked for a protection order, and the police actually were going to charge him with a couple of stalking crimes.
Mhm.
Now, you probably know that stalking crimes are they are our laws really have not caught up at all when it comes to
Mhm.
stalking. Haven't caught up with online stalking.
Right.
Still doesn't really. And I know in Idaho that just regular, stalking online doesn't even qualify as stalking
Yeah.
in under the law. And so a lot of states are struggling with this issue. So the police were trying to help her, but they were limited in what they could do. And he was from Texas and he was an
Right.
over the road trucker.
Right.
So in early March, they were trying to find him to serve him with a civil protection order or a no contact order.
Yeah.
Um, they never were able to serve it on him because they couldn't find him.
Yeah.
And it honestly was simply a piece of paper that wouldn't have stopped him from what he wanted to do. Anyway,
Mhm.
so I guess according to his ex-wife, Ramin got broken up with, sort of. I think maybe Zora just wised him up a little bit to, hey, we're friends,
Yeah.
let's, whatever. And he got really upset about that, and I apparently talked to her on the phone in tears several times. And she could tell that he had some pretty strong feelings toward her.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
And but she also said, as famous last words of everyone, I had no idea that he would do such a thing.
Right.
But he arrived at their house, Zora's house, and Zora and Mohammed's house, and he shot and killed both of them and shot himself. Now there was another family member living in the house with them who got
Mhm.
away, got to the neighbor's house, called the police.
Mhm.
By the time the police got to the house, all three people were dead,
Oh.
which is just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Um, and I wanted to highlight it for a couple of reasons. One is because we all need to be aware of what our laws are regarding
Mhm.
stalking and online stalking
Mhm.
in our states. But I know Idaho has not caught up in any way to the
No.
internet, cell phones, stuff like that.
No.
Our stalking laws don't even cover things like that.
No.
Stalking laws so far, even though he said he wanted to come burn her house down. He was going to come kill her. All the stuff that he said, they couldn't do anything because he hadn't done anything yet, which
Right.
is really scary in stalking
Yeah.
cases because usually then, it's too late. I mean,
Right. When they do something, then somebody has died.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know from having spoken to police officers about stalking in the past, how frustrating it is to deal with these cases because there's so little they can actually
Legally.
charge
Yeah.
someone
That can
with
be done.
legally. So it's important for you to know what's going on in your state. It's also really important to be careful with apps like Clubhouse because apps like Clubhouse, people create clubs and then you have to meet a certain criteria to attend. You have to be invited, stuff like that. So it starts to feel a little bit exclusive. I think it also feels a little bit safer than it is. I
Yeah.
don't think that Clubhouse is nearly as safe as people want it to be. Some of the groups in Clubhouse are extremely exclusive. And you have to be worth a certain amount of money to be in a club. And there are all these different kinds of clubs, but I think that we forget that just because we know someone online does not mean we know them in person.
Yeah.
And that with an app like Clubhouse, you want to remember you don't really know who you're talking to.
No, not at all.
And in this case, Zohreh, I think, was just nice to him
She was.
and
Yep.
just friendly with him, and it ended her life, which
Yep.
is really, really sad.
Ugh.
Also, murder suicides are up.
Man, aren't they?
2021 and 2022 were up, and we are on track to have more murder suicides in the US in 2023 than we've ever had that have ever been recorded. And people are not okay. People are behaving in very unhinged ways. And I feel like we need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
And really be paying attention to the people in our lives who may be acting off and being aware. Murder suicide is actually quite common as a gun crime. And, we're seeing that gun crimes are up everywhere in the US, and murder suicide is definitely one of those.
Oh, yeah.
So be aware in your state what's happening with murder suicide and what can be done. What are preventative actions? What's going on with stalking laws in your state? What do your legislators need to be doing to catch up with the internet and cell phones in order to better protect people in situations like this? Because we can be a part of the solution if we're aware of what the problem is. And this was a big one. For me, I just felt like this was really disturbing. And it's just really sad that,
really sad.
Zohreh and Mohammad lost their lives over this. Well, and
Right.
Ramin as well, too. Obviously he's not a well man.
No.
Had a history of domestic violence with his ex-wife and really went off the deep end here. But a lot of
His
people
poor
are not
ex-wife.
okay.
Can you imagine how this must feel to her?
She said in the news that she had no idea that he would do something this crazy. That she knew that that he was upset over this situation, but had no idea that he would do something like this. So check in with your people and be aware of what your state laws are. You would be probably terrified to know how old and outdated the stalking laws are in most states. And stalking.
Well, we didn't even start having stalking laws until the 80s or early 90s.
90s.
In most states. I mean, it wasn't even a thing until then.
And it's so much more of a thing now, and it's so much more dangerous than it's ever been. And you get into a group with someone online, and, it doesn't take very long for them to figure out who you are and where you live. And sometimes people give that information away to strangers, and we have to be more savvy and more careful in protecting ourselves and in encouraging our legislatures to update the laws so that the police can do more.
Yep.
There's only so much they can do. They can't arrest people outside the law. Like they have to do what the law says.
Yeah.
So we need, legislative change. And that's what I have. There won't really be a lot of updates in that case because they're all dead, which is really
sad.
Unfortunate.
Yep.
But stalking is an area I want to put a little more focus on because we've seen a lot of it lately.
Yes.
And just the dangers of stalking and where this can lead. It's terrifying. So, Katie, with that, I'm going to kick the mic back to you for some WTF news.
Well, okay. Well, hopefully this upcoming segment here isn't going to be too unbearable for you.
Oh,
This is
what am I looking at here?
this is Joshua Dobson. This actually happened last summer in Manchester, UK, but I just
Mhm.
found out about it and still thought you guys might enjoy this one.
Okay.
Joshua was 18. He stole a car and then stole
Oh,
fuel and ran from the police last
uh-oh.
May. And it took the police about a month to figure out who done it. When they
Mhm.
did decide it must be Joshua, they came to his house to search his house. And in the course of searching the house, they noticed in the corner one of those gigantic teddy bears
Yeah.
kind of propped up. And that after somebody sat and watched that teddy bear for a few minutes, they realized it appeared to be breathing.
Uh-oh.
So they, grabbed that teddy bear and searched it. And of course, inside they found Joshua Dobson.
This was his brilliant plan to hide from the police?
Yep. Hiding inside a giant teddy bear.
Oh boy.
So now, of course, he is, was arrested and has now actually, sounds like he's been sentenced now to 9 months in a young offenders institution. That's what they call it there. We call
They're
it,
much more proper.
of course, he's 18. Here, you'd go to adult jail. They have young offenders jail. So that's kind of nice. But
Mhm. I do think that's better.
yeah. So that's what happened. The Greater Manchester Police on their Facebook page announced his sentence. He's now stuffed behind bars after being sentenced last week for theft of a motor vehicle, driving while disqualified, and making off from a petrol station without payment. Hopefully, he has a bearable time inside.
Well, aren't they clever?
Aren't they? And polite. You know,
Yes.
they could have also said, hopefully, he has an unbearable time inside. But,
Right.
you know, how very polite of them.
Very polite. Hopefully he wises up and doesn't have to hide from the cops and teddy bears ever again.
Hopefully, Joshua, we hope you've learned your lesson, and that when you do get out of young offenders incarceration, that you'll be on a better track. Yes.
Mhm.
Well, there you have it.
Well, that's an interesting Mod Podge of stories for a Monday, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
how it goes in the true crime world, my friends. Well, we will be back Tuesday, of course, with our live stream, and also follow our socials, our Facebook group, and our Twitter for updates on the Lori Vallow hearing live, because we will be there, and then we'll do a live stream after the fact to talk about it as well. We'll be back with another episode Wednesday, as well as Wednesday night case updates, which is our live stream at 7 p.m. Mountain. So there's lots more great crime content to come. So don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment, as it always helps us to grow. And we appreciate all of you for being here with us. And you know it, we are the True Crime Squad. Thanks for being here.
Take care.